Alright guys, this is my first video in like 2 months. Let's get started with this. This is the Zach Coaster Crazy 2020 International Coaster Trip. Don't get too excited, it's just a Canada. But technically that makes it international. So let's continue. The parks I am visiting on this nearly week-long trip are Waldemeer and Waterworld, Conneaut Lake Park, Six Flags Darian Lake, a park named Marineland, yes, that's the actual name, and Canada's Wonderland. All very decent parks except for Conneaut Lake, I think. The first day will take place entirely in Pennsylvania. First, we will hit up Waldemeer, which has 4 roller coasters, and I will spend around 2 to 3 hours at the park that day. And then we'll move on south to Conneaut Lake Park, which is a really run-down park, as you saw in the first photo that said Kittyland. Yeah, it's kind of creepy and very run-down, but it has 3 possible coasters. And it's only it's only $10 to stay there the whole day. But we're only going to be spending like an hour and a half at the park. So the second day, it'll be in 2 countries. The United States and Canada. We will hit up 2 parks that day, which are Six Flags Darian Lake, a massive park at over 900 acres total, not used. But they have 8 possible coasters, which is a decent amount, the second most on the entire trip. So we will spend around 5 to 7 hours at this park, and I'm also planning to go with my cousins because they live in the area. So that's nice. Then we'll head up to a park named Marineland. Once again, a very stupid name. But they only have 2 roller coasters, so we're only going to spend 2 to 3 hours at the park. Because it's also like a zoo, kind of, so we're going to look at animals and stuff. The third day is just Canada's Wonderland. The entire day we're gonna be at Canada's Wonderland. There are 17 roller coasters at this park. So we're probably going to be spending 7 to 10 hours at this park. Very large park, very nice, although they have a great top 5. But the rest of their coasters are mediocre to bad. We'll get to those later. But first, we have the 10 coasters I am looking forward to the most. Number 10 is the Moto Coaster at Darian Lake. I do know it's a cloned model. To be more specific, it's the Moto Coaster by Zamperla. But it looks like a fun enough family launch coaster. And heck, maybe my cousin who's scared will even try to ride it once. Number 9 is Ravine Flyer 2 at Waldemeer. Waldemeer is an extremely obscure park, but their star attraction is Ravine Flyer 2. And I have heard nothing but good things about this roller coaster. It was built by the Gravity Group, and it's quite amazing, I've heard. Very long, too. Ooh. The next coaster is Vortex at Canada's Wonderland, not to be confused with the Vortex at Kings Island, which recently closed. Vortex is an aerodynamics suspended roller coaster like Iron Dragon at Cedar Point or the Bat at Kings Island. This coaster is also pretty good, and it used to be the best coaster at the park because the rest of the coasters at Canada's Wonderland, I heard, were crap. Number 7 we go on to is Superman at Darian Lake. Or to be more specific, Ride of Steel, which it's actually just called Ride of Steel, but everyone just calls it the Superman. This ride, I've heard, is also pretty decent. Not that great. It's not that great of a hypercoaster. But on this coaster trip, I'm sure it'll rank in the top 10 for best coasters. Next up, we have Dragon Mountain. I'm not looking forward to this coaster because I heard it's amazing or fun. I'm looking forward to it because it's really, really weird. But hey, it's really scenic. It actually has the most acreage for a roller coaster in the entire world. It was built by Aerodynamics in 1983. Number 5 is Viper, also built by Aerodynamics and at Darian Lake. This coaster was actually the first This was the very first roller coaster to have 5 inversions. It went upside down 5 times. And it had I actually have a funny story about this. So, my mom used to live in Buffalo, and when this opened, she was tall enough to ride, and then the next year they made the height limit bigger so she couldn't ride. I mean, it's not really funny, but hey, it's a story. Number 4 is Tantrum at Darian Lake. This roller coaster is a clone coaster once again, and was built by Gerstlauer, but I've heard really good things about this, albeit it's very short. Now we're on to the top 3. Yukon Striker at Canada's Wonderland, a B&M dive coaster. I've heard this is in the top 3 I heard for a decent amount of people, so I am looking forward to this. Number 2 is Behemoth, another B&M, but this time it's a B&M hypercoaster, or a coaster over 200 feet. This is the hypercoaster I'm looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to on this trip. And now we get to number 1, which is Leviathan, a B&M Giga coaster at Canada's Wonderland. So yes, the top 3 coasters I am excited to ride are all B&Ms. Now let's move on to the coasters I will hate to ride. Number 10, the Bat at Canada's Wonderland. This coaster I've heard, it's just a clone coaster, and there's like 50 of them around the world, and it's nothing special really. Number 9 is Boomerang. Number 9, Boomerang Coaster. Like the Bat at Canada's Wonderland, it's a clone coaster, and it's the same model, too, of a Coma Boomerang. There's a very similar coaster at Kings Island called Invertigo, but it's an inverted boomerang instead. Those I actually heard are pretty cool. Number 8, Hoot and Holler at Darian Lake. This is just a kiddie coaster. Don't have much to say about this one. It was built in Zero in the 80s. Number 7 is Predator at Darian Lake. Just no. I've heard nothing but bad things about this roller coaster. Not looking forward to this roller coaster one freaking bit. Number 6 is Ravine Flyer 3 at Waldemeer, another kiddie coaster. Next, number 5 is Time Warp at Canada's Wonderland. This coaster it is a Zamperla Volare, which is like a really weird flying coaster that traps you in a metal cage and just slams you around like crazy. Number 4, I'm just going to put 4 and 3 together because they're very similar. 2 wooden roller coasters at Canada's Wonderland are Wildebeest and Mighty Canadian Mindbuster. I've heard also nothing but bad things, and everyone just wants them torn down. Number 2, Mind Eraser at Darian Lake. The name speaks true for itself. It's a Vekoma SLC. like number 1, Flight Deck at Canada's Wonderland. I put this one spot lower because I've heard it's a lot worse. It's also a Vekoma SLC, but now we move on to the park. How do I expect the parks to rank? Number 5 is going to be Marineland because it's the saddest of the bunch of the parks. And it doesn't have many roller coasters to ride. It's just a lame park, I think. Number 4 is Conneaut Lake Park. This park is run down, which is both a bad thing and a good thing because it's so funny how run down it is. Like, seriously, I'm surprised it hasn't been condemned at this point. Number 3 is Six Flags Darian Lake. It's in the middle of the pack. Not bad, not good, but I'm expecting it to be good. Number 2 is Waldemeer. I've heard a lot of good things about this park, so that's why it's in second. And number 1 is Canada's Wonderland, because it has a decent amount of good rides, although the bad ones outweigh the good, I think. So that's bad. But anyways, let's move on to the total amount of coasters. Waldemeer will give me 4 new coasters. Conneaut Lake will give me 3. Darian Lake is 8. Marineland is 2. And Canada's Wonderland is 17. So, in total on this trip, I can get 34, but my goal is to get 20 new coasters. So, by the end of the trip, I'll have 58 to... Hold on, what? 62 new roller coasters. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which will probably come out next week. Bye!